Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Good morning. So, today's topic is long essays. Now, what do you mean by long essays? Here I want to draw your attention to the fact that at times you may appear for certain kinds of competitive exams that test your knowledge of a variety of topics. So, this is not just a test of English language. Of course, in how you write and how you express yourself is going to be extremely important. At the same time, these essays also require some prior knowledge on areas as wide ranging as governance, media, culture, values, even religion, education, science and technology. Now, what does this mean? Generally, they want you to take a position and they also want you, to test your worldview. Now, this is unlike the other essays, other kinds of essays that we have been talking about all this while, okay, which were more about general kinds of essays that where the focus was more on expression, language and the range of perhaps let us say language elements you can bring in. However, for today's task we are going to look at those kinds of essays which will also look at not just your general knowledge, prior knowledge, but also the kinds of let us say the global understanding of various issues of national and international importance that you have. That means you have to read a lot. I can recommend that you start reading newspapers, of course help a lot, but also very standard kinds of magazines that are available in market as well as in your libraries. So, that is a must. Just going through short e-essays or expression of ideas on the internet that is so widely available, that may not be of great value here, because we are talking about a level which does require you to position yourself, to project yourself as someone who goes beyond what is easily available and accessible. Generally, they may these essays or the duration of these essays could be as much as 3 hours. You may be expected to write 2000 words for 3 hours. These exams expect you to write a long detailed essay describing an argument or an issue and your position on it. The length of the essay, as I already said, could be between 1000 to 2000 words. They are common for certain kinds of exams. I am not going to take or mention names of specific exams here, but it all depends on what is your need, what are you looking for, what kind of exam are you appearing for, and then choose the topic that we have been discussing. We have been doing a lot of writing and I have been giving you a lot of tips on various kinds of exams. It all depends on your requirement. Okay, so today's pointers, the pointer that I am going to give you on today's lectures is on going to be on longer essays, which are much more complex and complicated than whatever we have been doing so far. Now, remember, these essays, they are not meant to test just your ability to write, but also your ability to express and project and position yourself well. Examinations that provide long essays and tasks related to long essays are targeted at your at assessing your ability to research. Remember that all these will be of tremendous use to you when you write for your SOPs, the statements of purpose, when you apply for institutes outside. Remember, a good understanding of the topics beforehand is highly important. An excellent vocabulary, ability to form complex sentences, and having a good command over English, all these things will help you. Remember, you will be given a few choices of topic. Always, whenever there is a long essay, you are given a choice. Take your time, don't just rush into it headlong. Think well about what you want to write about. Don't just pick your topic immediately and abandon it midway. Pick what you know the best and can write a good number of words on. Running out of ideas halfway through, midway through will definitely make your essay look very unprepared and very shoddy. Remember, these essays are detailed ones, so you will be given time that take this much time, 2 hours, 3 hours, or as much 1.5 hours, which is very good, and it gives you ample scope to showcase your written abilities. Take to begin with, and it's a very useful tip that I want to give you here, take a good amount of time to prepare a solid essay outline. So, what is going to be the topic sentence here? How are you going to develop that particular topic or that paragraph here? And so you remember those general construction and structure, the structuring of an essay, the introduction, the body, the conclusion, what goes where, how much goes where. So, make an outline. Always useful to make a rough outline, not just mentally but also on paper. This is especially useful in the longish essays like say running into 2000 words and that will give you 40 minutes or even 1 hour. So, writing down whatever you know about the topic will help you articulate your ideas better. This may even include using proverbs, idioms, quotations, important dates and figures, and all these things you can keep adding on. Remember always, and this helps in every kind of essay writing, is stick to the subject. Even if you are falling behind the prescribed word limit, do not unnecessarily write tangential notes in order to fill up pages. A shorter cohesive essay is still better than a shabby 2000 word essay that digresses, that deviates from the given topic. Long essay tasks often test your ability to argue convincingly for a given topic. Ensure that your essay is not a collection of factual details, but a well argued, consistent paper that clearly represents your stance. It is important to take sides and argue for them, irrespective of what the examiner's position is. Don't have to worry about his or her position. You need to know how many positions you can take for, against, or is there or are there a number of arguments that can hold ground for a given topic. Include as much as possible, but do not digress. Remember, there is no fixed, specific right or wrong answer for a long essay. Once you write your essay outline, structure it accordingly by figuring out your introduction and conclusion and the arguments you are going to include in each paragraph. Now, I would like you to understand how many kinds of long essay types are there. So, let us say here I have written a number of topics. Now, education, let us take education, which is so popular among test takers. Now, these questions deal with the state of education in the country, what an ideal kind of an education means. So, you need to have some idea, understanding of the education system in India. the challenges within the system. So, read the newspapers, read magazines. You should be able to include constructive social and critical arguments and scholarly debates on the state of education or existing educational patterns in your country. What are the possible acts, improvements that have been made and that can be made in the system. Coming to a topic like economics, this involves discussions on the country's economy, the advantages and limitations of economic indicators in judging the country's progress and development, global economics, the global economic order as it exists today, growth, debates and impact of globalization, all these things. You can also have topics on civil society and governance. So, they include discussions of what is democracy, what is good governance, what are governmental policies, their impact, repercussions, constitution. So, it always pays to know something about it. You need not be a political thinker or a political scientist, but it pays to have some rough idea of the constitution of your country, a rough idea about the major acts that have happened historically on certain issues of national importance. Women empowerment is also becoming quite popular. Okay, nowadays there is a lot of talk about women empowerment and franchisement. So, you have to think of various feminist issues of increasing importance, how these issues increase women's representation in politics, what are the policies that empower women in a country, what are the national concerns for gender policies and politics, etc. Poverty is another issue. Of course, it is related to economics and sociology, and these topics, poverty related topics, will be closely related to policy making, governmental reforms in the context of poverty, measurement indices of poverty, current problems and suggested improvements. Environment and society, these kinds of topics include discussions on sustainable development, environmental resources, global warming, climate change, growth versus development debates, reforms, and position of a stance of various countries towards addressing global warming and environmental concerns. So, deforestation could be one of those. Religion and society, this is another very popular topic, always a bit debatable and controversial, but there are certain kinds of exams that may test you for your understanding of religious conflicts, society that a society faces, and also governmental reforms and laws on religion. Science and technology, always a very popular area, and this may include topics related to development. Development will always be there. Globalization is always at the at current scenario, these things are always at the forefront. So, have a good understanding of various areas that are being dealt with through the lens of globalization and development. Policy making, labor reforms, debates on investment and science and technology, etc. Now, let us talk about ethics and values. They are of let us say in recent times they have become popular, and they may include areas like or topics like euthanasia, capital punishment, human and animal rights, all these things specifically in the context of the country's cultural ethos. Now, culture, topics related to culture are also quite popular, very important area of for test takers. Questions may cover the themes related to popular cinema, music, cities, architecture, food, etc., and overarching themes of globalization, urbanization, multiculturalism are also important. Now, remember, in this course I may not be able to cover all topics with a practice test. However, I am going to give you some sample topics that may help you in developing your ideas that may encounter you, that the kinds of topics that you may encounter for your exams. So, let us look at this slide. I am giving you certain essay topics on education. Of course, the net can give you much more variety, but here I have tried to do my best to give you a number of possible essay topics related to the area of education only, and then I will give you some other broader areas also. So, in education you can expect these kinds of questions. Please look at the slide. Discuss the role of the classroom in higher education. To what extent can we replace the teacher with technology? So, is it possible to replace teacher with technology? What could be the possible solution? So, you have to introduce, and then you have to introduce the topic. Please talk about what are the recent changes has information technology brought about a kind of revolution. What does a teacher bring to the table? What does a technology bring to the table? So, the debate, the choice is between these two entities. So, you have to develop accordingly. Second topic, are the standardized tests good measure of academic ability or progress? What are standardized tests? What are the pros and cons of standardized tests? Are these those kinds of tests that test a candidate on the basis of a set of skills? Okay, so, these kinds of tests, do you think they are enough to give you or give the test taker a good indication of the caliber of this a particular candidate or a student? So, you have to think of it, what are the merits and demerits. Next topic, examine the relevance of value based education and how is it advantageous in contemporary society. What is value based education? Why do we need values? What kinds of values in contemporary society? Are there other areas apart from education? Are we getting values imparted to us from some other source also? Consider all this. Now, next topic, please look at the slide. Again in education, education for all campaign in India, is it a myth or reality? Are children getting educated? Then what explains child labor, or what explains, how do we explain so much of illiteracy? So, is it just a myth, or are concrete realistic measures are being taken towards achieving this? Next topic, should children be taught sex education in schools? This is a very debatable topic, but it's still relevant, and you need to research on this particular area and give your response. Many people would be staunchly against it, many people would be for it. By children, please remember, we mean children who are above the teenage, almost teenagers. We are talking about those children. So, let us not confuse it with kids below the ages of 11 or 12. Okay, we are talking about higher age limits, upper age limits. Next topic could be discuss the relevance of incorporating ICT for educational purposes in school. This is again a very important area, and lot of discussion and research is being done on this. You have to look at it. Now, privatization of education, this is the next topic, and it is a fact all over the world. So, agree or disagree, privatization of education is a growing evil. Is it evil or is it not? Is it a necessary evil? Talk about that. And then should corporal punishment be used to teach discipline to young students? Many people are, especially child psychologists, are against the idea of giving physical punishment to students, young children. But is it always bad, or are there any merits? So, it is again a very controversial topic. I mean, we know that there are horrendous acts committed on children, but how far can we go when we talk about corporal punishment? And does it yield any benefit, or is it should it be eliminated, and should it, some people may even go as far as asking for punishment for the person who gives physical punishment to children. So, all these things are important and need to be looked at. Remember, in order to tackle essays on education, you have to include reading codes, whatever area, education for all, freedom to choose a subject, or there is too much of parental interference in our country, especially on which about which stream should a child choose. All these things need research, prior research. So, look at the kinds of exam that you are appearing for, and if you are appearing for a particular kind of exam, then you should know that this exam is going to test you for something that goes beyond just regular ability to write an essay. So, make sure that you know some important quotations, some important dates and figures, policies on education, reforms in education. Keep a notebook handy which includes, or make whatever way you like to keep your diary, which includes such relevant details. Revise this on timely basis, since you need to be absolutely sure about your facts when you are writing this essay. Writing incorrect facts in your essay will or may cost your scores. Remember that essay type questions that we have, or essay topics that we have just hinted at, they are asked in relation to society, education, policy. Follow newspapers, recent debates and other sources to keep yourself updated on the trends. Be aware of the limitations of your essay. Do not take an uncritical stance. Always address both sides of the topic as well as your responses to ensure you write a well-rounded essay. Now, let me show you this slide, sample essays, topics on economics. Look at the slide here. Topic 1, enumerate the political, social and economic impact of demonetization on India. Next topic, among all the multilateral organizations, of which India is member, which one do you believe serves India's interests more? Discuss the role of Sensex with respect to food inflation in India. Provide a critical commentary on RBI's strategic debt restructuring scheme and its advantages to Indian society. Examine the significance of gold as an asset in India in the context of the impact of gold monetization scheme GMS in the country, and the Indian agrarian economy is in shambles. Examine its fault lines and elaborate on the statement. Remember, many standard newspapers have features, regular features and columns on these areas. Please keep looking at or looking up these topics and essays. These are very specialized kinds of areas. They require attention and regular practice. It's not a one day before kind of practice. I can only give you certain tips on handling essays or essay topics on economics. Remember, while preparing, make a list of the important economic reforms that have been proposed and implemented in the country in the past year. Note down important points regarding their effectiveness, advantages, context, relevance of implementation and so on. More so than economic facts and figures, your essay will need to cover on the ground realities of how a scheme affects a particular population or area. Note, all these questions are descriptive type essays. Some of them require you to provide a personal opinion and suggestions regarding the topic. Ensure that while preparing for the essay, you do not de-link your facts and figures from your personal opinion. So, you should always give your personal opinion. After all, it is a test of language. Remember to look up similar schemes and their implementation in other countries. It is always good to give a comparative analysis and suggestions wherever relevant. Let us talk about sample essay topics on women empowerment, and here is the list here. Have increased access or has increased access to employment opportunities, financial independence and educational attainments, enabled women in urban India to exercise their freedom and agency. Second topic, countries and nations which do not respect women have never become great nor will ever be in future. Discuss. Managing work and home, is the Indian working woman getting a fair deal? Discuss. And next slide, please look at it. Provide a commentary on the women's reservation bill and its implications for women in India. Is an egalitarian, gender neutral society possible by educating the masses? Men have failed, let women take over. So, these are the topics that you can expect. Now, how to tackle all this? So, remember, you have to familiarize, as in other essays that we have been talking about education or economics, again you have to familiarize yourself with the basic arguments of feminism. Now, this is not literary theory that I am teaching you, this is very much rooted in sociological debates, anthropological ideas. You have to look at, so basically you are being tested if you are a well-read, well-informed person. So, you have to look at the history of feminism, its background, history, context in general and particular vis-a-vis the country's temporal spatial location. Okay. Remember to focus on policies and major milestones and events with regard to feminism and women's rights movements in Indian history. You need to brush up on important events in India with regard to women's empowerment, issues such concerning molestation, dowry and violence against women, female infanticide. All these there are ample amount, or there is ample amount of writing available. So, you have to update yourself. Yeah. And we are not talking about sensationalism, we are talking about serious writings in academia and also in media that appears related to these issues. Test takers also expect some solutions. So, take a stand. A critical essay, remember, must also provide solutions and feasible policies to combat the issues of the issues at hand. So, read upon important court judgments in the country so that you can handle the essay more readily. Now, remember, all these things are very specialized, as we have already talked about. It requires a very, very intense amount of level of reading and preparation. Know yourself, know the kind of exam that you are going to appear for and prepare yourself accordingly. We stop at this point and we will continue talking about longer essay type of questions in our next class. Thank you very much.